Bonjour everybody, tout le monde. Comment ça va? C'est moi, c'est Louise. Aujourd'hui... Ah oui, bonjour la VOD de YouTube, c'est vrai. Aujourd'hui, petit stream pour... On va faire Stanley Parable. Bon, c'est écrit, c'est pas trop une surprise. Enfin, bon. J'ai appelé mon stream 8. Parce que c'est le seul truc que je sais du jeu. Je sais qu'il y a un mystère avec le chiffre 8. Parce que j'avais vu sur YouTube... Alors, je sais plus qui avait fait la vidéo, je vais aller regarder. J'avais vu le titre et la miniature, c'était en mode « Ah, le mystère du chiffre 8, gna 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 ». Mais je ne sais plus... Ah bah, c'est TGR. Voilà, c'est tout ce que j'avais vu sur le jeu. Je sais qu'il y a un truc avec le chiffre 8. Et voilà. Je sais aussi que le jeu, il se fout de ta gueule. Et ça va être super sympa. Je vais lancer le jeu. Si j'y pense aussi tout à l'heure, j'aimerais bien regarder le live de Bethesda. Je vais aller me follow. Hop là. Follow. Oh, ma souris est complètement buggée. What the fuck. Je crois que c'est à 17h. Donc, si j'y pense, on verra. Peut-être c'est écrit dans le programme, en fait. Non, bon, c'est pas écrit. Mais je pense que c'est 17h. Je laisse le chat ouvert comme ça. Et si ça se lance, j'entendrai peut-être. I don't know. Donc voilà, sans plus tarder, je vais lancer mon jeu. Oh, bah il est déjà là. Oui, c'est vrai, faut que je le capture. Faut que je le capture. Propriété. Hop là. Normalement, ça c'est le bon truc. Oh, je touche à peine mon micro, il fait un bruit de zinzin. Subtitles. Choose a screen in subtitle language. Je vais mettre en français, hein. De toute façon, je sais que le jeu, il est en anglais. Je vais arrêter la musique et on va se lancer de dingue. Non, j'ai jamais joué. J'allais au curseur jusqu'à ce que l'ordinateur soit à peine visible. Entrée de l'heure actuelle. Oh, 16h13. Ah oui, 4 p.m. 13. Allez, fermez. Les paramètres de l'accessibilité sont accessibles du même principal. C'est super. Commencez le jeu. Tout fonctionne, on entend bien le jeu, je crois. Bien, c'est parti. Loading, never the end is never the end is never the end is loading, never. Ok, great. Cliquez pour passer.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Oh, VDM.
Might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Oh, c'est super alors.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ah bah quand même. Oh la sensi. Oh non, je suis en QWERTY. Attendez. Sauter espace. Je sais exactement ce qui va se passer. Ok, je ne sais pas ce qui va se passer alors. C'est bizarre, je flotte, on dirait. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on a là? Mon bureau. Mon ordinateur sans ordre. Des papiers, ta crayon. I hate Mondays. I hate Mondays. Partition corps providing nanana. Ok, je me tire de mon bureau. Oh, mon collègue, il est pas là non plus. Mais qu'est-ce qui se passe-t-il?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Je ne sais pas.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Non, j'ai pas envie.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find
Number
a
one
trace of
dad.
his co-workers.
Bon, je crois que j'ai pas le choix. Je crois que c'est forcément meeting room. C'est drôle les clics. Hello, colleagues. J'éteins tout pour économiser l'électricité. Ils sont tous partis, sans moi. Ils m'ont laissé. I hate Mondays. Lui aussi? Oui. Sales in this quarter. No! Does not make sense. Ils ont tout perdu. C'est pour ça qu'ils sont partis.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Je vais l'écouter. Je suis un bon garçon après tout.
Yet there was not a single person
Oh
here
non,
either.
personne.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Of course, je vais aller voir mon boss. Do not alter without consulting whiteboard manager. Putain. Using slide to assure employees that everything is okay. Et j'ai vu juste avant comment ne pas se faire virer. Everyone is unique. You most of all. Super. Et ensuite, number of slides on this slide. Slides, chart and slide. Ok. Ça c'est génial ça. Rate at which charts on the same slide depict the same information. Génial. C'est-à-dire que ça dit tout la même chose. Oh!
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Mais si, il y a plein de trucs. Il y a des trucs pour balayer. Mais ok. J'écoute le monsieur. Good little
Coming to
boy.
a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah, j'ai pris le mauvais chemin.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
J'ai lu vachement en retard le truc.
Coworkers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this,
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Stanley Parable. Il me parle. Coucou, tu can.
he began to make other strange observations.
Je suis.
For example, why couldn't he see his feet?
Oui, c'est ce que je me suis demandé.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
Et oui, c'est tous
They
les
seemed to
mêmes.
be repeating.
Putain.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared.
Ouais, je suis vraiment dans un rêve.
Fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and
Non, c'est normal. Petit
Now the
narrateur.
voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the
Je
mattress
continue de
on his back,
marcher.
the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
C'est bon? Je suis réveillée? Non, je suis pas réveillée. C'est pas un rêve en fait.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh non. Et ensuite?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Ok.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Tout ça parce que je l'ai pas écouté, le mec. Parce que je l'ai pas écouté. C'est sûr. Je suis re-Stanley, du coup.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ok, donc si j'écoute pas le monsieur, en fait, je meurs. Shit.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Si j'écoute pas le monsieur, je suis morte. J'écoute tout, j'écoute tout, j'écoute tout.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Parlez moins.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
J'écoute absolument. Je suis un bon petit garçon. Je suis une petite toutou. Hein? Parce que le boss sait que le boss dit ce que dit le boss, et le boss il souffre des pertes quand ça c'est ce que le boss il a choisi. C'est ça qui a marqué. Trust. C'est super en tout cas ce bureau. Office. C'est où mon boss office? Non, je rigole. Je rigole. J'écoute le monsieur.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Wow.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this.
Je ne sais pas.
What dark secret was being held from him?
Je
What
n'en
he
sais
could
rien.
not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him.
Oh non.
And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code.
Oh, lucky.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ça c'est lucky ça. Hein. Purée. On a de la chance. Je suis au théâtre ou quoi? Je vais là? Ah oui, j'avais pas vu qu'il y avait un truc. Je dis à tous les coups, tout à l'heure j'ai appelé le truc et ça va me faire sauter dans le vide. Mais non, tout est good.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
C'est le développement du lobe frontal. Tout le monde sait ça.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. Ah non, moi je vais me faire contrôler le cerveau, moi. Je veux pas mourir. C'est parti.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
C'est vrai.
Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Bien sûr. Je vais tout découvrir. Caméra. Bureau. Bouton caméra.
Now the monitors jumped to life.
Oh
Their
non!
true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Il y a des gens qui ont été virés.
Workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom.
Je suis quoi déjà? 427. Je suis viré ou pas? J'espère pas. J'espère que je suis pas viré. Bouton, monsieur.
This mind control facility
Ah bah il est viré.
was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job?
Je
That
suis
his
un sim.
emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Je suis un sim. Pour de vrai. On y va.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ah, c'est comme ça, malheureusement.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions.
Offline.
Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working.
Beep,
All of
beep.
it monitored and commanded from this
Boop.
very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Qu'est-ce que je fais? System power. Non, il faut allumer, il faut me faire contrôler l'esprit.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine
Non,
for
non,
yourself.
non.
Is that what you wanted? Control?
Non, non, non.
Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort. I really
Non, c'est
do.
pas ce que je
But you
voulais.
need to
Il y a un
understand,
malentendu.
There's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off.
Oui, c'est ce que je voulais.
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do
Ah non,
much
c'est pas ce que je
better.
voulais.
I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system.
C'est très bien.
In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA
C'est très bien.
identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
C'est la vie.
How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it,
Ah,
Stan?
mais j'étais prête à mourir,
It's your
moi.
time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what
5.
precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
5.
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated?
Incorrect.
I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway.
Incorrect.
I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink
Incorrect.
to the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a
Incorrect.
crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing.
Incorrect.
Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure
Pourquoi il me
whatever
parle, le
come
gars?
up with on the next
Je...
go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left.
Bah oui, mais
But I'm
bon.
enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are
Ok.
precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing
Oui,
right now?
oui, c'est ça.
Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off?
Oui.
Look at you, running from button to button, screen to screen,
Oui.
clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here
Oui,
will
c'est vrai.
save me. Why
C'est
do you
vrai.
think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten?
Oui,
Well,
c'est vrai.
solved. Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is?
Non.
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action
Incorrect.
along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted
Dommage.
to control this world, that's fine. But
Mais
I
non,
had
pas
to
du tout.
destroy it first, so you can't.
Oh non.
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until
Bah,
a
c'est la
victory
vie, hein.
and nothing. No ending here.
Adieu.
Just you being blown to pieces. When you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't.
Goodbye.
It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in
Oh mon
until
dieu.
the moment I say,
Mon cerveau.
"Erupt."
Oh my god. Ça shake trop. Ça veut dire que j'ai raté? C'est ça?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
What?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
J'ai raté. J'ai été puni.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
J'ai tout raté. Suis-moi.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Je vais aller là. J'y vais. Il chante mon nom. Ça va jamais, je vais jamais arriver, c'est ça? C'est long. Peut-être qu'il y a beaucoup d'étages. Hello Stormy. Super, on est arrivé.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Oui, c'est vrai, je me sens relaxée. Je me sens très relaxée même. Je me sens très très relaxée après cette musique New Age. Excusez-moi. Excusez-moi. Je me disais, j'ai un petit peu mal aux yeux, alors peut-être que ça pourrait aider. Les lunetas.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Cette fois, c'est la bonne.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Je pensais pas du tout ça, mais bon. C'est moi, Stanley, je devrais être au courant.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Moi là.
Stanley's co-workers.
Là, moi.
The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe.
Mais si, c'est
He
bon.
couldn't accept it.
C'est pas si
His own
grave.
life in someone else's control? Never. It was
Never.
unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Je sais pas.
Here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working.
5.
All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert.
Ça y est, c'est finito. Tout cassé.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won.
Oh, j'ai
He
gagné!
had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone?
C'est pas
How
grave.
had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold?
C'est pas grave,
But
je veux
as
juste sortir de
sunlight
là.
streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Bien sûr. À vos ordres.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
C'est le plus important. D'accord. J'ai fini le jeu. Génial. Mais la fin n'est jamais la fin. Ok, très bien. Mais en fait, je me dis du coup, là j'ai fait tout ce qu'il m'a dit de faire. Du coup, si je fais pas ce qu'il veut, mais le premier truc, c'est-à-dire d'aller dans la salle de réunion, il faut que je l'évite aussi. Mais où est-ce que je vais? Où est-ce que je vais dans ce cas? Je peux aller nulle part ailleurs.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Oh, c'est bon, je peux faire ce que je veux.
When Stanley came to a set of two
Bon,
open doors,
bah je vais là.
he entered the door on his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Bien sûr. Non, je suis encore dans la loupe. Non, je peux pas être dans la loupe. Oh.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth
C'est
the
très
detour
charmant.
after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
C'est vraiment super. C'est bleu.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Non.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Désolée. J'ai pas envie d'écouter. C'est fini. Où suis-je désormais? Une porte là. Ah, il me faut une carte. Est-ce que c'est vraiment trouvable ou est-ce que c'est pour la déco? Do not jump from the cargo while lift while it's in motion will cause death. Penalty for misuse of cargo lift $1,000. Penalty for jumping off the cargo lift $5,000.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Ah,
Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
my bad. My bad.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Oui.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Petit
Perhaps he wanted
coquin,
to stop by
Stanley.
the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Bien sûr, je vais l'admirer.
Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
I can't.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Désolée.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Non.
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Je m'en fiche de
This is
elle.
it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Urgent. Employees should never under second chance attempt to. Attempt to quoi? Attempt to quoi? C'est tout noir.
That's her, Stanley.
C'est elle?
You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Ok. Allô? Allô? Oh,
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Oui,
I
c'est
just
moi.
got the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
ok. Qu'est-ce qui se passe ici? C'est chez moi?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Non. Ok, j'appuie.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
J. Bien sûr.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Est-ce que j'appuie sur autre chose? B. C'est à côté. Non, je peux pas.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Oh, trop triste.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he
Elle ouvre la
imagined
télé.
that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth.
C'est
The
impossible.
thought excited him terribly.
Oh oui, entre
So
potes.
he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Préparer le dîner. Je prépare le dîner.
As he wandered through this fantasy
Oh,
world,
la belle
he
cuisine.
began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations.
Super.
Down one path lay
Je
an
cuisine,
enormous
là.
round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Oh mon dieu, ils ont dit le nom du jeu. Je lis l'histoire aux enfants.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Oui, juste une fois de plus. Oui, je t'aime.
But there is no answer.
J'ai pas de
How could there
femme.
possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Je vais me coucher.
And I'm trying to tell him this. that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Je le fais pas. Je le fais pas. Je le fais pas. Mais ça va jamais s'arrêter. Ça va jamais s'échapper. Je suis obligée d'être au travail. Sinon, j'ai plus de boutons sur lesquels cliquer. Moi, je veux cliquer sur les boutons. Les boutons. Bon, allez, je le fais.
You see? Can he just not hear me?
Désolée.
How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Oh non.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see.
Merci, c'est gentil.
And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again.
Mourir.
And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh, je suis mort encore. Quand que je meurs pas. Ok. C'est reparti.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Je sais pas.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
À mon avis, j'ai raté un mémo.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Oui.
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace, its subtle charm?
Dis pas la même chose.
No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker.
Très dark.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Oui, monsieur.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Mais ça fait quoi? Mais ça fait quoi? Le gros bouton rouge.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track.
Oui.
So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
Merde.
From here, it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right,
Okay,
by
okay.
mistake.
Purée, je pouvais presque y aller.
No,
Ah, pardon.
no, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking?
Je sais pas.
It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
C'est où? Je sais plus. Putain. J'ai le trop de bol.
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
D'accord, j'y vais this way alors. Je vais this way. Non. Ah, je suis en haut.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler.
Oh.
Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just...
Mais j'ai déjà vu ça, c'est bon.
Who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning.
Okay.
And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay. From the top.
Ok, ça marche.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Il est vraiment méchant avec
Stanley
moi.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, Did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors?
Non, non.
Did you move the story somewhere?
Non,
or...
non, non.
Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story.
J'ai rien fait.
It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Oh merde. Je vais où? Oh putain. J'ai tellement de place ou d'endroits où aller. Si je peux, je prends pas les portes. Comme ça, elles se referment pas derrière moi. Je dois pas tout recommencer. Tourne en rond là. Hein? Je suis revenu là.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Oh non, je voulais me balader moi.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Y a plus de porte.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Oui. Oui, oui, allons-y. On a sûrement raté un truc. Mais quoi? Qu'est-ce qu'on a raté? Je sais pas.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story.
Oh non.
Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all.
Moi non
Is this
plus.
the story?
Je sais pas.
I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct?
Oui, oui.
Do you remember, Stanley?
Bien sûr.
Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Ouais.
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
Merci.
Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all.
J'ai gagné,
We
c'est
both
trop
know
tard,
you
hein.
didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations.
Mais
Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever
il
this
me
place
dit
is.
GG et il
I
me
don't care
reprend
what
mon
might happen this
trophée.
time, I have to restart.
Oh non, pas restore, d'accord.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
C'est très simple. Je suis jamais allée par là en plus. Donc ça me plaît.
See? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction.
Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
To Destiny.
Here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Oui, bonne idée.
Cut the music. Go back and look at that fern.
Oui, oui, qu'est-ce qu'elle a? Ça là?
Stanley, This fern will be very important later in the story.
Ah oui?
Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully.
Ok,
You
ok.
won't want to miss anything.
Il y a des feuilles. En haut. En bas. Sur de la mousse. Non, ça va, je pense que je me rappellerai.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No.
Ah.
You do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story?
C'est
Is
bon.
any of this ringing a bell?
On est sur le chemin, là, je pense. J'ai pas fini encore de suivre la ligne. Ah, on est de retour là.
No, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Oh. Et ça va être pareil, hein. Ça va être pareil, hein.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us?
Bah,
We're intelligent people,
nous a
right?
perdus.
Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Oh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Où ça? Ici? Ok, ça marche. On y va.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just
Oui,
me
oui.
and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything.
Ah,
What do you want
je...
our story to be?
Ah,
Go wild. Use
oh
your
mince.
imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley,
Oh,
I'm ready
une
for
sortie.
it.
Génial. J'ai cru que j'allais tourner en carré pour toujours.
Oh no, not you again.
Ah, on l'a
Stanley,
retrouvé.
I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Ok, ok. Je le regarde pas. Je fais comme s'il n'existait pas. Tout va bien. Regarde, il est déjà plus là. Oh.
A choice. We get to make a decision. From
Oui.
here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute.
Ok, ok.
Okay, so I know
Pourquoi
that
pas dans
each
l'autre
door
sens?
has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here.
Oh, j'ai mal au
And that
crâne.
in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Moi, je dirais, je prends plutôt les portes de gauche, mais bon. Bon, bah tant pis. La fin troublante. Ah, je sais ce que je suis en train de faire là. Bienvenue dans la salle de maintenance. Finir dans la salle des écrans. Le narrateur relance le jeu. Premier redémarrage. Découvrir que la salle aux 2 portes comporte maintenant plusieurs portes en plus. Errement sans but. Le narrateur relance le jeu. Deuxième redémarrage. Le bureau est maintenant sans issue. Faire demi-tour. Trouver une autre voie sans issue. Finir dans un autre bâtiment. Le narrateur relance le jeu. Troisième redémarrage. Une aventure, philosophie absurde et musique. Retourner au bureau. Retourner à la salle des écrans. Quatrième redémarrage. S'aventurer vers le territoire vierge. Retrouver la ligne. Trouver le programme de la fin troublante. Le narrateur relance le jeu.
What's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is?
Oui.
It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how...
Je vais mourir à la fin, il est marqué.
It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped?
Oh non.
Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The,
Peut-être.
whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen?
Ah, Primo Keiko, merci beaucoup. Trop gentil, merci. Comment ça va?
I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we?
Ben ça va, merci. Mais c'est la première fois que tu viens. Tu t'abonnes? T'es comme ça? Oh, j'ai eu peur. Ça va pas ou quoi? Bon, il a pas eu le choix de restart le game, le gars.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Tu connais
Stanley decided to go
Stanley
to the meeting.
Parable?
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, new content. Oh, j'y vais.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Bah, c'est-à-dire que c'est nouveau, en fait. C'est littéralement ce que ça veut dire. Merci, c'est trop gentil. J'espère que tu vas bien.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
C'est ce que j'ai.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
Oui.
Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Moi aussi, j'ai trop hâte.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Oh, je pense aussi. Avec mon ami le narrateur, on va bien s'amuser.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... oh, here we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Ouais. Ça va être super, ce new content.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Oui. Donnez-nous. Un. C'est ça?
All right.
Je peux pas sauter.
It's the jump circle?
Je peux pas sauter. Ah, je peux sauter? Depuis quand? Que dans le cercle, ok. Il se passe quoi si je saute pas?
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Bien sûr. Forcément.
Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about.
Oui, je
No
suppose.
frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always.
Oui,
What do you say, friend?
oui, oui. J'ai pas le choix de toute façon. C'est X maintenant. Oui, c'est ce que je me suis dit aussi. Et voilà. Et voilà. C'est fini, ils seront plus jamais à la page. Oh, mon bureau! Ils se foutent de ma gueule.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Mais attends, il y a un truc là. Ok, non, c'est rien d'important. J'arrive. J'arrive. Ah, coffee nut. Ok, j'arrive. Oh, je vais tomber. Ouf. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Oui, c'est ok. Qui appelle ça X? À part les gens qui ont connu ça, qui s'appellent en s'appelant
Okay,
X.
you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new ultra deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be.
Oui, oui.
So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret.
Trop bien.
Take a look. I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want.
Génial.
Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release?
Oui, c'est
Remember
vrai.
back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant
Magnifique.
something. Oh, the waste.
Audience Award 2014. Oui, Stanley Parable. La meilleure histoire. En 2014, ils ont gagné. Ouf. Good times. Mais j'ai vu tout ça. Ça n'a pas été supprimé du jeu. 20h13. Non, pas 20h13. Notre premier baiser. Ma première voiture. La sortie de Stanley Parable. I remember. The original remake. Super. C'était le bon temps, c'est vrai. C'est très drôle. $1. Je peux pas jouer. Dommage. Go outside. Don't play for 5 years. Il est à l'envers. Bah, mets-le à l'endroit. Unachievable. Oh non, je veux tous les succès, moi. Nominé. Deals tough choice. Et là, c'est ma mort. Il y a même un petit banc si je veux m'asseoir. Ah, non.
Je suis dans la mémorisation, c'est sur la pluie des vélos, et je n'attends plus que toi, mon amour.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism.
10
10 out
sur
of 10
10.
from Destructoid.com.
Wow.
Jane Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them.
Tout ça.
And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A
C'est trop
lifeless
triste.
husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Trop sad. Oui, Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable. Oui. Ah oui, puisque c'est tous les jeux du coup. Oui, c'est tous ces jeux-là à la fois. Ah, c'est moi, je pense. Bah, parce que Stanley Parable, c'est tous les jeux en un. C'est tous. Et puis, c'est pas vraiment Minecraft, c'est Stanley Parable, là. Tu dois confondre, à mon avis. Pas le droit d'aller. Les boutons. Regarde. Encore des photos de Stanley Parable. Oui, j'aurais plus rien à faire parce que j'aurais fait tous les jeux. C'est le shortcut ultime. The end is never the end. Les gens jouent au jeu parce que... à cause de ce qu'ils peuvent faire dedans. Et ton jeu est très bien pour leur faire savoir que... on peut rien faire. Littéralement rien faire.
Here's another moving passive,
Attends.
this time from GameSpot.com.
Non, rien.
The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Trop triste. Mais bon, ils ont tout gâché.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait,
Bien sûr.
hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Oh non, les souvenirs, les mauvais souvenirs.
God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor.
Oh non.
I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
C'est vraiment drôle s'ils ont pris des vrais reviews de merde.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious one.
Non, je voulais lire la
I
suite.
suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Après, je suis un peu d'accord avec la vie. Hein. Il parle beaucoup, quoi. Bon, c'est le jeu. Hein. C'est pas grave de parler beaucoup après. Not recommended. Oh, un autre.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like
Oh
a failure.
non.
Like I let these people down.
Quel naze.
Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Quel gros naze. C'est pas que c'est un donneur de leçons, mais bon, on a l'impression qu'il veut tout contrôler, quoi, c'est vrai.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Oh mon dieu.
A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Ouais. J'ai pas demandé un skip button, moi. Hein. J'ai pas demandé ça, moi. Je veux bien l'écouter, mais bon.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then my goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore...
Je peux pas le faire taire. Le pauvre. Il va vraiment croire que c'est un raté après.
We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards. The deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years. Until just
J'ai pas envie.
Here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the
Ça me dérange pas ce qu'il me dit, hein.
How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah.
Oh non, c'est une boucle.
And it can't be just yet, no, no, until 200 and...
Ça me fait de la peine un peu.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice.
Il a pris tellement de critiques en même temps. Normal.
It was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I
Tu te rends compte? Il se fait quasiment harceler.
It was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being,
non, ça doit pas être facile. Déjà, il doit parler beaucoup. Il doit avoir mal à la gorge à la fin de la journée.
Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite. You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise.
Non mais là, il parle juste pour parler, en fait.
It has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that many... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this. And edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely.
Ils auraient réparé ce que l'autre il aimait pas. Ou qui neuf.
User the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality.
Qu'est-ce qu'il raconte? Et pourquoi il parle plus? Bizarre.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again.
Okay.
I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go?
Oh non, c'est vrai
Wasn't there
ça.
a door that led into this room?
Oui, juste
I
là.
don't feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? Sufficiently large
No,
crack in the
rien.
wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a
J'ai pas le
door
choix.
before, wasn't there? I swear there
J'ai pas le choix. Je suis désolée.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer,
Je
but
suis
they're
désolée.
really, truly getting longer.
J'ai
My
pas le
God,
choix.
There's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone.
C'est vrai qu'il y a l'heure là.
I've checked from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley.
3h moins le
There's
quart.
no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. Oh, Stanley, you're back.
Oh mon dieu!
Back. Oh my goodness, I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time.
Oh mon dieu.
Here.
Les lampes elles fonctionnent plus.
And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe...
En fait, le problème, c'est que ce qui me saoule, c'est que je peux pas en placer une en fait.
means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps. Yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time, that if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive.
Oui.
I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you?
Oui,
You
oui.
can see what this means to me.
Bien sûr.
I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a terrible dread it strokes in my heart to
Je n'ai pas le
to think of
choix.
returning to such coldness.
Je suis navrée, mais je n'ai pas le choix. Tout noir.
Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret.
Il est dead. Il est plus là. Il est dead. Cette fois, c'est moi qui suis toute seule. Oui, oui. Oh non, la cloque. Elle est tombée.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can...
Ça coûte. Un truc qui coûte. C'est quand que je sors de cet endroit-là?
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
Oui, bon, on est au courant.
End is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is never the...
Oh non, je vais me noyer. Ça fouille. Ça fouille. Ah bah voilà ce que j'attendais. Une sortie, enfin. Presque. Presque. Oh yes. Bientôt, je pourrais m'échapper d'ici. Plus que quelques boutons à pousser et je serai libre. Ou pas? Ça veut pas s'écrouler là? En tout cas, c'est super cute. Encore de la fougère importante. Oh non! Mes plantes! Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Ça y est, on s'est fait envahir par les extraterrestres. Oh non, mon bouton! Ah, yes, ma sortie. Je peux appuyer ou pas? Non, c'est fini. Et B? Génial. Enfin, je suis libre. Après des milliers d'années. Au revoir, pièce. J'ai pas l'impression de m'éloigner beaucoup. Si, ça va. Restart. Restart.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Menteur, menteur. Quel menteur. C'est juste pour m'inquiéter. Oh, new content. Oh, là, ça va être du vrai content.
Good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
New content. Trop bien le new content.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Ouais. C'est génial.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
D'accord.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra
Oui.
Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Génial. C'est ce qu'on attendait depuis le début. Oh. Moi x2.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more
Oh,
of
le
a fuzzy
bus.
magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Waouh. C'est super.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
QR code. Ok, je scanne le QR code. Une raclette. Mais alors ça, c'est du génie. Ça marche pas le QR code. C'est un faux. Je me suis fait avoir. Une bonne petite raclette.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday
Je
and
dois choisir.
Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Ça.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along.
Oh.
Get Well Someday it is.
Ça aurait eu aucune importance de toute façon. Si j'avais choisi l'un, il aurait choisi
Or
l'autre.
actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Easy achievement. Ah, j'y vais. Pre-achievement. Pull the lever, receive your new achievement, no more steps. Trop bien.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident?
Oui.
Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yeah. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel.
Réveiller des
To at
appétits.
last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen. What else? What
L'appétit
other
n'était pas
exhibits
vraiment
have you
endormi.
seen yet?
Il était plutôt en hibernation et toi tu as donné un coup de pied dedans. Du coup maintenant... Du coup on se lève vers toi et
Ah,
on arrache la patate d'entre tes mains.
now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them.
Oh mon dieu.
I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
D'accord. Est-ce que j'avance là? Ah oui j'avance. C'est pas sûr. La petite raclette. C'est pas inquiétant en tout cas. Ouais. Génial. 1 sur 6 déjà.
God, it really is worse when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Oh mon dieu, il y a tellement de trucs. Je vais où là? Sortie. Ah non, je veux aller au cercle pour sauter. La patate. Il y avait des gens, j'avais vu un truc comme ça, ils mangeaient des...
You know what, Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea.
Oh, il l'a repris!
I to that for the sequel.
Oh, le coquin, il a volé l'idée. Pain de mie. Pourquoi pas une vraie baguette? Mais ça va pas ou quoi? Oh pardon. J'ai essayé de ressauter quand c'était à 0. My bad. My bad. Où est-ce que je suis pas allée là? That's new. Oh, j'ai vu un truc. That's new en gros. Oh, un bouton qui dit mon nom. J'avais pas vu. Flemme de cuire une baguette. Mais t'as pas besoin de cuire ta baguette. Tu vas à la boulangerie. Ils le font pour toi. Ah, le bouton qui dit mon nom.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people.
Oui.
So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now,
Me
the
disais
button
aussi.
only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along.
Okay.
I promise you'll love it.
Je
Okay,
m'appelle
here we go.
Jim.
Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Je suis Jim.
I want you to imagine...
Jim.
Whoa, hold
Oh,
on.
pardon.
I wasn't finished setting up the backstory.
Ah, pardon.
If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button.
My
Otherwise,
bad.
it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again.
Oui.
And this time, let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
J'ai pas envie d'être Jim, mais bon.
Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim, developing a crippling substance addiction as Jim, rediscovering yourself through fringe religious groups as Jim, and finally dying a slow death at an old age surrounded by members of your cult as Jim. Do you feel it in your soul? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Ok. Je suis Jim. J'ai un culte.
Jim.
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Non, c'est bon. C'est pas drôle en fait, son bouton de merde là. Mais putain, mais il m'a enfermé, je suis obligée de refaire le bouton. Vous voyez pourquoi les gens ils veulent le skip? Il est chiant en fait. Il est chiant. Oui, oui, oui.
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time.
Il est
If
lourd.
this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the gym button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
C'est bon, je peux sortir. Oh, purée. Je suis son otage quoi. Il est même pas bien ils sont même pas bien ses idées. Si seulement je pouvais lui dire.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Attendez, j'ai vu un truc là. Trou infini. Il faut que j'aille voir ça quand même. J'aille voir le trou infini. À mon avis, ça doit être fou. Ok. Attention à pas tomber dedans, juste je pense.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly
Non,
fond
ça va,
of.
je peux
It's
pas.
never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Mais je veux pas tomber dedans. Je vais pas me jeter dedans quand même. Ce serait stupide, hein. Désolée, mais je peux pas faire ça. Est-ce que je peux me casser de son exhibit au moins? Oui, t'as raison. Je vais mettre une review négative. Jeu de merde. Je veux dire que le 2 c'était pire. T'imagines, il détecte si t'as mis une review. Il détecte si elle est négative ou positive. Et tu relogues, et le narrateur il est en mode... T'es sérieux? Trop du cul, va. Moi je serais là... Si tu veux... Ah, c'est possible qu'ils viennent en personne, oui. Putain.
Oh goodness, Stanley, this is fairly awkward. I hate to do this, but before you leave, you really should go to the bucket exhibit. You see, there's a surprise I was going to spring on you later, and it involves the bucket. And I really
Ah, là-bas, pardon.
break the illusion, but it's important that you go see the bucket.
Mais j'ai juste pas vu.
All right, I'll get out of your hair now.
En fait, il y a tellement de trucs, je suis désolée, j'ai pas vu le saut. J'ai pas vu le bucket. Je sais qu'il est important pour le jeu, j'ai vu tout le monde en parler. Il doit être très important à mon avis.
Was that it was confusing and paradoxical.
Y a pas?
That it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those
Non.
who played it. Well, I'm happy to
Oh
say
non.
that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this
Y'a
fundamental
quelqu'un qui a volé le
problem.
bucket?
It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket.
Ah non, il arrive, pardon.
You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true.
J'ai passé en dessous du radar.
The many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel
Ils pourront pas me faire taire pour toujours.
You may even come to long
Je leur fais croire que j'aime,
of jarring
mais je dis ce que je pense vraiment.
while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Ok, je vais l'essayer.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding
C'est vrai qu'il se croit très malin. C'est un peu énervant. Alors que c'est nous les plus
The
malins.
benefits of the bucket seem
Ah
to
bon.
go on and on, don't they? All this and more awaits you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Ok, bon. Je fais quoi avec son seau? Moi, je le garde. Bah, c'est super. Après, c'est vrai qu'il est assez satisfaisant. J'aime bien ce genre de seau. C'est mieux ce genre de seau.
Give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Oui, il pourrait. Du coup, je peux partir, c'est bon? Je pars avec mon seau? Je sais plus où par où c'était. Ah, exit là-bas. Super. Écoute, c'est un super seau, c'est vrai. Est-ce que je peux sortir? Avec mon seau? Quoi ça? Ah, c'est moi. Screenshot.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment.
Je sais pas comment lui dire.
I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Ok.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go, version 2.
Oh.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Il me saoule. Ça a l'air très dark en tout cas, ce nouveau jeu. Ok. Je vais être dans mon bureau.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Avec des super ballons.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to
OMG!
him from a monitor on
Stanley
his desk,
Parable 2.
telling him what buttons to push.
Vous saviez que c'était sorti?
How long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Et c'est tant mieux. C'est tout ce qui compte.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
C'est vrai, y a pas? Bizarre.
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Super.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, super ces ballons. Tout le monde qui a eu l'idée. Oh mon seau.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Eh oui, j'ai ramassé mon seau. Heureusement ils ont mis le seau dans le 2. Le Game Pass Ultimate.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Je sais pas. Est-ce que je dois l'écouter?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Heureusement que j'ai le seau.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Je me suis trompée sans exprès.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Le seau, c'est le narrateur? Est-ce que ce serait ça? Depuis le début?
You found one of them.
Ouais.
One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done.
Ouais.
You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Alors là, youpi. Alors là... Oh. Je suis allée plus vite.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate.
Non.
It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Merci pour ça. C'est là. C'est le seau.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Génial.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
C'est possible. C'est possible. Il trouve du confort avec un seau, après tout. Un seau, hein. Bizarre, hein.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Non!
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears
Non.
as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Mon seau, il va pleurer. Pauvre petit seau.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own
Dans
life
le
in
seau.
someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Oh mon Dieu.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way. The bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
T'as raison, Bucket. Faisons-le.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over?
No.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now
Oh
mere
mon Dieu.
moments away.
On a réussi.
The two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and...
Oh non.
What? Wait, what was happening?
Ma
Why
porte.
had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket.
Non.
Many lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be
C'est
trapped
tragique.
eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
C'est triste. Je peux pas partir sans mon seau. Et si je prends le seau avec moi,
Stanley lifted the bucket
je
into
peux
his
pas
arms,
partir.
and a wave of comfort rushed. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Je pense que c'est la bonne solution. Mange le seau. C'est vrai ça. Oh putain, il y a marqué où ils sont. Pour de vrai. Dans le sequel Exhibit, près d'un feu. Private but smelly place for an important person. Oh, les toilettes du boss. Un endroit qui est peut-être violet, red and blue. Des escaliers. Et avec des boîtes. Une pièce avec des boîtes. Il faut que je trouve les toilettes du boss. Non.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's.
Il voulait mon seau, le placard à balai? C'est pas possible. Oh, quoique, ça fait sens. Elles sont les toilettes? Ici. Oh mon dieu.
Another miniature
Oui.
Stanley figurine. This
Let's go.
There really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands?
Ouais.
Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like
Non.
that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Non, j'aime pas du tout moi ce nom. Ça fait penser au pipi. Pas le pipi.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an
Je
emotional
me suis trompée.
dumpster fire
Je sais plus ce que
because of
c'est.
the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding
Je me
light
rappelle plus.
pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always,
Plus que 3. Oui, 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 oui.
and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the key. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Oh, Lucky.
The bucket knew all along.
C'est le seau qui me l'a dit.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
C'est le seau. C'est le seau.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door of the red mind control facility.
Je vais là cette fois.
They had the word escape written on it. The truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
D'accord. C'est comme ça, hein.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Merci. Mais je me suis trompée ou... Oui, forcément. Je me suis dit peut-être qu'il se fout de ma gueule, il a changé de code, mais... Oh, qu'est-ce que c'est? Trou. Non. Quoi? J'ai pas pris de dégâts de chute? J'avais un enchantement.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be.
Oh non.
To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Au revoir.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Mon seau, il m'a protégé. Il m'a protégé, mon
It was
seau.
a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest.
Oui, je suis
It was
d'accord.
a glorious bucket to behold.
Oh putain. Mon seau. Le seau vous accueille à la grande exposition. Vous vous tenez au bord du savoir tout comme un seau. L'esprit humain est souvent vide à l'intérieur. Un vide caverneux. Mais grâce à l'exposition qui se présente à vous, l'esprit peut se remplir, s'enrichir et être satisfait. Les connaissances du seau et son histoire sont les seules que nous ayons véritablement. Utiliserez-vous ce que vous apprenez ici dans le monde extérieur? Accepterez-vous l'esprit ouvert, ce qui peut être complexe quant aux informations de cette exposition? Changerez-vous votre vie et la vie de vos proches suite à cette exposition? ou fermerez-vous les yeux pour continuer à vivre comme avant, dans l'ignorance et l'obscurité? Ça va m'ouvrir les yeux, ça c'est sûr. Le musée du sceau.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Trop risqué. Trop risqué de faire 2 anses sur un seau. Je suis d'accord. Je suis d'accord. Oh! Le sceau infernal. Oh, il a l'air mystérieux, lui. Une reproduction du sceau infernal qui, au Moyen-Âge, avait un attrait si intense que des dizaines de pays s'affrontèrent pour en obtenir le contrôle. Il y eut des milliards de morts et malgré tout, ce simple fait demeure. Personne ne peut contrôler un sceau. Merde, mais qu'est-ce que j'ai fait? Le sceau du stress, présenté sans commentaire. Oh, génial! Tu poses tout son stress et... Oh! Dessin de grotte. Si nous savons que les sceaux précèdent l'existence de l'humanité, nous ne savons pas de combien de temps. Le dessin d'une grotte illustre la découverte humaine précoce des commodités du sceau. À cette époque, le sceau existait déjà depuis plusieurs millénaires. Observé dans ces dessins comme le sceau se laisse utiliser, ayant jugé les êtres humains comme étant dignes de ces trésors. C'est très aimable de la part du sceau.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Le sceau accroché. Oh. Cette œuvre symbolise la relation nécessaire entre le sceau et l'humanité. Quel que soit que nous comprenons sur le sceau, il y a toujours plus de connaissances qui restent inaccessibles. Cette distance est forcément pour notre bien. Oh, je vais aller dans le trou. Oh non, je flotte. Oh, qu'est-ce que j'ai fait? J'ai pas appris ma leçon. J'ai pas retenu ma leçon.
There is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
Oh non.
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Oui, je me suis pas rendu compte de ce que je faisais. Je l'ai volé, mais c'était plus fort que moi. Hein. Mais si je me rendais compte de ce que je faisais, je l'aurais jamais recommencé. Promis, promis, promis.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his code.
Oui, mon seau.
He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed
Meeting
support
today.
and guidance from others. So the
Figurine
thought of total
finders.
solitude was terrifying to him.
C'est quoi ce bruit? Mon seau.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But
Peut-être qu'il y a une
had
figurine
felt the
là.
bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
The place to
And
be.
here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room?
Ouais,
Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was.
carrément.
How insightful the bucket turned. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Non, jamais. J'ai pas dit
Stanley
ça.
took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Oui. Oui, le meeting room. Qu'est-ce qu'il y avait là-bas? Je me rappelle plus.
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Des boîtes? Les escaliers? Ok, il faut que j'aille dans les escaliers en bas. Je vais en bas.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Oh, Je l'entends. Oh mon dieu.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines.
Oh.
And now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
Figlies, c'est
What
mieux.
name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Figlies, c'est bien. Figlies. Je vais reprendre l'ascenseur. J'ai forcément raté un truc. Ou pas? Peut-être c'est juste du foutage de gueule. Oui, je pense. Peut-être ça, oui.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Oh non.
Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Let's go.
Was it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Je vais devoir tout me retaper là. Crotte. Tout ça parce que j'ai raté le... J'ai raté le truc dans l'escalier. Merde.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television
Au pire, c'est pas
screens.
grave. J'allume la machine cette
What
fois.
secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Non, ne lâche pas le saut.
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Ça va aller. Ça va aller.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never!
Never.
Squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls.
No.
Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds.
Silly birds.
The control buttons became active again.
Silly birds. Birds. Oh.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best.
C'est magnifique.
Stanley was happy.
J'adore.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Heureusement qu'il est là, le seau, quand même. Warehouse access plan. Produce one plant to allow use of access pass fence. Construct bridge to allow collection of shiny float. Retrieve Chris remains from warehouse floor. Construct new structurally sound bridge. C'est très très mystérieux. Why wouldn't they just tell us something will happen? Ideas. Help, I'm a post-it. Where are they? J'en ai trouvé et j'ai rien dit, moi. Je leur ai rien dit. I want them so much. Il m'en manque 2. Mais je vois pas ce que c'est ces pièces. Une grande pièce avec des boîtes. Et un endroit rouge et bleu.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet
Jaloux.
believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend.
Mon seau.
You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley,
Une
I
insulte
never
là?
liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends?
Non,
That your
mais
relationship is
n'importe
purely
quoi.
superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal
Salaud.
entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Enfoiré. Vilain. Ouais. C'était mon dernier mot.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Merde. En fait, il reste plus qu'à aller en bas.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Cette fois, j'ai le seau.
Down at the bucket in his arms.
Cette fois, j'ai
Am
le
I
seau. Tout va bien
crazy?
se passer.
He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it.
Ma bucket.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Mon seau, il est où?
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley! Find me! He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend.
Mon
It was
seau.
the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
J'ai mangé le seau.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
C'est terrible ce qui
Mariella
m'arrive.
woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
Elle aussi.
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man
Bah oui.
had no
Bah oui.
bucket.
J'ai pas mon seau.
Of course, he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket.
Je fais quoi sans le seau?
Perhaps he didn't even
Je peux plus rien faire sans le
seau.
seau.
His bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself.
Heck yes.
Kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Backflip? Elle a fait un backflip là? J'ai bien entendu? C'est complètement crazy.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
C'est tout.
No, never mind. The bucket
J'ai
was
cru que j'avais raté un truc.
Stanley took the door on his left.
Ok, je vais là-bas.
Go back to the meeting room.
Je vais là-bas cette fois.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question.
Je suis jamais allé là en
why
fait.
this bucket was speaking.
Je suis en train de me dire.
It should have alarmed him, of course, because
Là-bas aussi. Oh
But
mon
Stanley
Dieu.
chose not to think about this
Oh
obvious
mon Dieu.
fact. He
J'ai
was firmly
compris.
convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Danger, danger everywhere. Je suis jamais allée là sans le seau. J'avais pas pensé de sauter.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket
Je savais
here?
pas.
Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding.
Putain. Je peux pas prendre mon seau là?
Please, step in here for a moment.
Ok. Ok. Ok, ça marche, je regarderai. Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
Ok, ok.
Okay, let's begin.
Je suis prête.
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Oui, oui, oui. Oui.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Non, impossible. Ça m'avait l'air bien 3D.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Oui.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Oui.
Correct.
Ah,
This is a bucket.
enfin. Enfin, je me trompe pas. Je sais pas ce qui m'arrive. D'habitude, je suis bonne pour reconnaître les sauts, mais bon.
Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Ok, next one.
Is this a bucket?
Non, arrêtez, s'il vous plaît. Ça va être un bucket.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Ça devient difficile. Hein. Ah, donc c'était bien un tracteur, on est d'accord, c'était pas un
Is this a
seau.
bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Merde. Bof quoi?
Item. Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere.
Où est le putain de seau?
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something. And therefore nothing could possibly
Ouais,
be something.
peut-être.
Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Non, 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 non.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a
C'est dur.
bucket is? Am I a bucket?
Non, je crois pas.
Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
Non.
Okay, here we go.
Non, non, non. J'ai besoin encore de mon seau.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket.
Non, c'est
My
pas
God, I
possible.
had no idea. How could I? Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, You're still here. You're not a bucket either. This is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay?
Ok.
And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person. All right, here we go.
Super. Super. Il me rend mon seau. C'est tout ce qui m'importe.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others.
C'est vrai.
So the thought of total solitude was
Pas que je prenne mon
terrifying
seau.
to him. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Oui, la première porte à ma
Stanley was
gauche.
so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5
Bravo.
years ago.
C'est la première fois que je pars sans mon seau.
Gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy.
C'est stressant.
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Moi?
Someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect the last
Du coup, je sais voler la
and then
dernière.
the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Lawrence. J'ai cru qu'il allait
Now
m'enfermer.
listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Sinon quoi?
Oh,
Je
thank
meurs.
God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time?
Oui,
The
oui.
problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley?
Oui.
I wanted to stop.
Oui, moi aussi.
We would both be so much happier if we just stopped.
Ok, je stoppe.
And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Et quoi? Que se passe-t-il?
What do we want?
Je sais pas.
What are we looking for?
Une statue, une statuette.
Here, yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Génial. Cool.
No,
What?
wait. Where are you going?
Ah, pardon.
Right. Where are we?
C'est magnifique. Bref. J'y vais, moi. Non? Est-ce que je devrais attendre encore un peu? Mais il me dit rien quand je pars, ça veut dire qu'il veut que je parte. C'est sûr.
Oh no! Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset.
C'est
We'll
bon!
lose all of this.
Mais je sais monter un escalier quand même. On va le faire, c'est bon. T'en fais pas.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Je veux pas me tuer. Tu as raison, narrateur. Bon, d'accord, j'ai pas le choix. Ne regardez pas.
No!
Oh,
Oh,
tout va bien.
thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Oui, bien sûr. Ça pique les yeux, hein. Je vais retenter ma TS. Pauvre Stanley. C'est horrible.
No. No, no. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Je sais pas pourquoi je fais ça.
Stanley,
Oh mon dieu.
let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Quelle
My
horreur.
God. Is this really how much you dislike my game?
Non,
You'll
non.
throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it?
Non, pas du
You're
tout.
literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy.
Mais pas du
Am I reading the
tout.
situation correctly?
C'est pas ça. Mais il confond tout.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Il n'y a plus rien à voir. Elle est vraiment horrible cette pièce. Peut-être si je ferme les yeux. Non, j'aime pas. Oh! Oh! Tout est réapparu. Bon, je vais sauter de la plateforme, moi. J'y retourne. J'ai mal aux jambes en tout cas. Le fond du seau. Ça me semble logique ce que tu dis.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Pauvre
All
gars.
of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Mais
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
bien sûr. Back to the meeting room.
No, said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yeah, good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Comment je vais
Stanley did not
là-bas?
question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of
Une
course, because
porte.
buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Bien sûr, je fais tout ce qu'il me demande le seau.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
Et si je pique pas le phone? Si je pick up pas le phone?
Whoa! Hold on. Why did you unplug the phone?
Je sais pas.
Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Non, non.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a
Une
look.
vidéo, c'est vrai. J'adore les vidéos.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke,
Faut retenir ça.
start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Dunny with the funny. I'm Dunny with the
This saying
funny.
is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threatened our very existence, and who very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Ça, c'est louche.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Ok, ça marche. Ah non, c'était pas ça qu'il fallait faire, pardon.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious...
Ma statue, elle a disparu?
The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows
What the
where
fuck?
we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for
Je suis enfermée, cette fois.
The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to
Putain.
overthink things.
Putain. Ma statuette. Statuette. Comment je fais? Ils m'ont tout pris.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Merde.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think...
Oh non, pas encore la vidéo éducative.
Watch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my... Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other jokers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint.
J'ai plus de choix.
For bringing me down, Stanley. Are you proud?
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley.
J'ai pas fini, il me manque une statuette. Oui, j'ai vu. Peut-être que je pouvais pas la voir le dernier.
What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More
Désolé, Leroy.
videos. Let's see.
C'est finito? Est-ce que c'est finito? Pour de vrai?
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
J'avais complètement oublié cette histoire.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Il y a vraiment plus les trucs. Qu'est-ce que je fais?
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Je vais là. C'est le seul où je suis pas. C'est le seul endroit où je suis pas allée avec le saut, je crois. Je crois bien.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't
Mais
you
mon
want another
seau.
story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Ma fougère. Ma fougère. Il n'y a pas une statue près d'un
Look
feu?
at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh,
Je
and
sais
we need some
plus.
silly music as well.
Oh.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Mon seau.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Oh.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not
Je
in
peux
the
pas
original
détruire
game,
mon
but it's such a
seau.
well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
C'est trop méchant.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
Non.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Je peux pas détruire
Now
mon
listen to
seau.
me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now,
Oh.
the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Mon Dieu.
The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now.
Oh non.
Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
C'était soit l'un soit l'autre. C'est vraiment un jeu tragique. C'est tragique. Meeting today. Figurine Finders Committee.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room. A good bucket. A strong bucket. A humble bucket. A committed bucket. A bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Non.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this... No.
No, never mind.
Wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
C'est juste tout simplement comme ça. Oh là là, ma figurine.
And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Mais c'est ça que je faisais. Je cherchais mes figurines. Je cherchais mes figurines. Oh. Oh purée. Où suis-je? Où suis-je? Purée. Oh là là. Tous les dialogues. C'est finito.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes.
Encore le saut.
The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes.
Le saut.
It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Non. Pas Gamborata. C'est Gamborata qui me suit.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines. Those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life?
Oui.
Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness?
Oui.
Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Oui, bien sûr.
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines.
Bien sûr.
Just one more time.
Bien sûr, allons-y. Now remembering when Stanley found the collectibles. Ah, c'est un super souvenir. Quand j'ai trouvé la dernière figurine. Elles sont où mes figurines? Là-bas.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain?
Oh non.
We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
And here was the second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own just by poking around behind the boss's office. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6.
Oh.
But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable...
Il avait aucune confiance en moi. C'est vraiment ça l'enfoiré.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand?
Oh, là-bas. Bien sûr, c'est les salles de bain. C'est la salle de bain. Je me souviens quand même, c'était il n'y a pas si longtemps que ça.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here in the boss's bathroom. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them.
Eh oui.
I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything.
Oh. Intéressant.
Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Merde. Merde. Un Stanley. C'est vrai ça. C'est bien possible.
This was the 5th mini-stand, and this one was really something special. It was by the red and blue doors. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Super.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
J'ai pas les mots là, tellement c'était beau. C'est incroyable. C'est pas son talent, hein. C'est sûr.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here in the warehouse. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected.
Ouais.
It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
C'était super. Je suis dans le présent. Le passé. Ok.
And then there was no more. Because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, Memory Zone.
Oh, goodbye, Memory Zone.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Oui, faisons ça.
Okay, yes. This spot in the warehouse. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
More. More figurines.
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oui, je me rappelle.
Yes,
Oui.
I love that
Oui.
video.
C'est super.
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
Quoi ces sous-titres buggés là?
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had
Je
been
prends tout.
any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Next one. Mais on la skip, non? On la skip celle-là. Oh, on peut pas y aller? On peut pas y aller. Je voulais tellement voir celle-là.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it
Oui,
too.
oui, je me
The
rappelle.
past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going.
Oui, je continue, je continue.
This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines.
Oui.
Oh, I want more memories, Stanley.
Oui.
I want to keep going.
Continuons.
What else is there? What came before this?
Je sais pas, qu'est-ce qu'il y avait avant ça? L'exhibit, le saut, tout ça là, truc nul que je
Look,
disais.
it's the terrible new content
Ouais.
that we were originally sold on.
Ah, je peux
I
pas
remember
sauter.
hating it back then. But time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now.
Ah.
Look how much
Ah, voilà.
Yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
C'était super ces portes. Et mon bureau, bien sûr.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember.
Une dédicace à Pokémon?
Yes. I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction.
Oui.
But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think
Il y avait marqué Collect them all, je crois.
I want to get back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore.
Quoi?
Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what?
J'ai pas besoin de moi.
Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I
Super.
did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go.
C'est reparti.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
C'est fini? C'est pas fini puisque la fin c'est jamais la fin. Putain. Putain.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Qu'est-ce que j'ai pas fait? Je pense à deux trucs.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay.
Quoi? Ok? Just ok? Il l'aime pas?
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took
Bon.
the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you
Jamais de
all this
fin.
time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Je veux pas.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
No.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles?
Oui.
Skill trees?
Ouais.
Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option.
Oh,
This already
génial.
feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stan. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes?
Oui, oui, oui.
Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look. En tout cas, c'est son jeu. Waouh. Les gens sur Steam. C'est drôle ça.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again,
Oui.
honest answers, please.
Absolument.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Faut passer des portes. C'est sûr.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely
Non,
out of
j'aimais pas
ideas.
le bruit, c'est
I can't
tout.
think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Minecraft.
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley?
Est-ce que c'est Firewatch?
What is our motivation?
C'est ça?
Well, it seems obvious to me that you
Mais
were made
oui.
to play as a creepy man, spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted, erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Ouais, allons-y. Ah. My bad.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
Il est super ce jeu.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh,
Ouf.
thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Minecraft. Putain.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind.
Il est où ma
Just a
voiture?
nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Il est où ma voiture? Mon ballon.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Oh. Ok. Je vais faire ce que je peux avec cette énorme boule. Oh, je vais vite. J'ai une voiture, ça y est?
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on?
Super.
Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal
Ouais.
pressure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric... Hold on. What are you doing?
Oh non.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
Oh non.
How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Oh non, je suis toute seule. Oh, je tombe encore plus loin. Oh putain. Mon bureau, mais tout saccagé. Super, une lumière. Ça veut dire que c'est le bon chemin. Mon bureau. Oui. Mon bureau. Oh non. C'est fini?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his
Il se
choice,
termine jamais le
and if
jeu.
he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon.
Super.
I can wait.
Moi aussi. Bon. J'ai l'impression d'avoir fait le tour, mais... Oh, ouais, il y a tellement de succès. Qu'est-ce que j'ai raté? Va jouer dehors. Terminer de Stanley Parable en moins de 4 minutes 22 secondes. Temps de chargement non compris. Are you winning? Yes, I think I won. Mais c'est quoi ces succès de merde? C'est vraiment très drôle. Il y a un succès qui s'appelle va jouer dehors, ne jouez pas à The Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans. Il y a quand même 4% des gens qui l'ont. Hein. Alors ça c'est fou ça. Peut-être ils ont bidouillé leur clock de Windows là. C'est du grand n'importe nawak. Je crois que je vais m'arrêter là. Hein. Oh, ah, j'ai oublié le stream de Bethesda. Crowd the Peak. J'ai oublié. C'est pas grave. Ah, super. Petit canal stream. Eh ben, c'est super. Je vais m'arrêter là pour l'instant. Je le relancerai, je pense, évidemment, pour les succès et tout, mais... Bon, bah, c'était bien quand même de... Je me disais que quand même, il fallait que je connaisse ce jeu. J'en entendais tellement parler, etc. Mais voilà, je suis contente de l'avoir fait. Coucou. C'était vraiment spécial. Je m'attendais à ça, et en même temps, j'étais quand même surprise. Mais bon. En tout cas, merci à tous d'être passés, d'être restés, pour les follow, pour les abos. Et je vous dis gros bisous, je vous envoie chez Tikan, elle fait du Satisfactory, elle est très cute et super intelligente. Au revoir. Yes, sending Stormy. Goodbye, Stormy.